Welcome to the circulatory system. Way to start this one off, right? The circulatory system is made up of the cardiovascular and lymphatic systems. The cardiovascular system is made up of three main parts: the pump, the fluid, and the containers. The lymphatic system consists of lymphs, lymph nodes, lymph vessels, tonsils, the spleen, and the thymus gland. The spleen and liver are also associated with the circulatory system because they form and store blood. So let's talk about what the circulatory system does. The functions of the circulatory system include delivering oxygen-rich blood and nutrients to the body tissues, assist in maintaining body temperature, protects the body against infection, controls bleeding, removes waste and byproducts of the metabolism from the body's tissues, and transports hormones and other chemical messengers to target tissues of the body. Excuse me. The heart is located slightly to the left of the center of the chest. It is attached to the thorax through the great vessels, the pulmonary arteries and veins, the aorta, and the superior and inferior vena cava. With its thick muscular walls made of cardiac muscle, the heart pumps blood through the vessels of the body. Blood flow through the heart. The heart's divided into four hollow chambers. The two upper chambers are the right and left atria. The job of the atria are to receive blood from the body and the lungs. And the two lower chambers are the heart are the right and left ventricles. The ventricles are large and have thicker walls than the atria because their job is to pump blood to the lungs and the body. This is absolutely crucial, and you will see this on a test. You will have to write this almost word for word. Blood comes in from the superior and inferior vena cava, and it goes into the right atrium. From the right atrium, it passes the tricuspid valve into the right ventricle. From the right ventricle, it goes out through the pulmonary pulmonary artery, and then it goes and becomes oxygenated. Then it comes back through the pulmonary vein. Into the pulmonary vein, it goes into the left atrium. It goes through the bicuspid valve into the left ventricle. And then from the left ventricle, it goes past the aortic valve, into the aorta, and out the body. I did forget to mention one valve, the pulmonic valve, which goes from the right ventricle to the pulmonary artery. So one more time, we're going to go through this. Blood comes in from the inferior and superior vena cava, through the right atrium, through the tricuspid valve, into the right ventricle, through the pulmonic valve, into the pulmonary artery, out to the lungs, comes back in the pulmonary vein, to the left atrium, then through the bicuspid valve to the left ventricle, and through the aortic valve, out the aorta, and out through the body. Some important things to remember here: the pulmonary artery is the only artery in the body that carries deoxygenated blood, and the pulmonary vein is the only vein in the body that carries oxygenated blood. When you're remembering your valves, something I do is I remember you try before you buy. So the tricuspid valve is the one that separates the right atrium and ventricle, and the bicuspid valve separates the left atrium and ventricle. The normal heartbeat begins as an electrical signal in a small area of specialized tissue in the upper right atrium of the heart. The impulse spreads through the system of pathways called the conduction system. A disruption of these pathways can cause the heart to malfunction. For example, a heart attack disrupts the flow of oxygen and nutrients to the heart cells, and this disruption can cause the heart to beat too quickly or too slowly. It can also affect the heart's ability to contract and pump blood to the rest of the body. It's important to remember this circulatory respiratory system, how they interact. Blood goes from the heart to the alveoli and comes back to the heart. And then when blood leaves the heart, it comes out the aorta, out to the arteries. And then those arteries go to arterioles. Those arterioles go to capillaries, which is where the gas exchange occurs. The cellular respiration drops off oxygen and nutrients, picks up waste. Then it goes from the capillaries to the venules, and from the venules to the veins, and eventually from the veins to the inferior and superior vena cava, and back to the heart. Blood is the transport system by which oxygen, food, hormones, minerals, and other essential substances are carried to all parts of the body. Blood carries carbon dioxide and other waste material from the body's cell to the lungs, kidneys, or skin for removal. To help maintain body temperature, blood vessels narrow, which means they constrict, they get smaller, and they widen, which means they dilate as needed. To keep or lose heat at the skin surface. Blood and the lymphatic systems work together to protect the body against infection. The exchange of oxygen, nutrients, and waste products between blood and body cells occurs throughout the walls of the capillaries. Let's talk about the components of blood. Blood is made up of liquid and formed elements. The liquid portion of the blood is called plasma. Plasma carries blood cells, vitamins, proteins, glucose, and a lot of other substances that the body needs. The formed elements of the blood include red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. Red blood cells, known as erythrocytes, have two main functions. They pick up oxygen from the lungs and transport it to tissues throughout the body, and they pick up carbon dioxide from the body tissues and transport it to the lungs. Red blood cells contain hemoglobins. Hemoglobins are red and therefore gives blood its red color. White blood cells, known as leukocytes, attack and destroy germs that enter the body, and platelets, known as thrombocytes, are irregularly shaped blood cells that have sticky surface. When a blood vessel is damaged and starts to bleed, platelets gather at the site of the injury. They begin sticking to the opening of the damaged vessel and seal it, stopping the blood flow. And that's where our scabs come into play. Now let's talk about the blood vessels. Blood vessels that carry blood away from the heart to the rest of the body are called arteries. Blood is forced into the arteries when the heart contracts. Arteries have thick walls because they transport blood under high pressure. Arteries normally carry oxygen-rich blood. However, the pulmonary artery and its two branches, the left and right pulmonary arteries, carry oxygen-poor blood. Arterioles are the smallest branches of arteries. They connect arteries to capillaries. Capillaries are the smallest and most numerous of the blood vessels. They are very thin, thinner than the human hair, and connect arterioles and venules. Venules are the smallest branch of veins. They connect capillaries and veins. Veins are vessels that return blood to the heart. Veins normally carry oxygen-poor blood. However, the pulmonary vein and its two branches, the left and right pulmonary veins, carry oxygen-rich blood. There are 4 pulmonary veins, 2 from each lung. The walls of veins are thinner than the arteries. For my firefighters that are out there, the best way I can explain this to you is imagine the heart as an engine. You've got your supply lines and your attack lines. Your supply lines are your veins, that's your blood coming in, and your attack lines are your arteries. That's what your oxygen-heavy blood, that's your blood you're taking out to deliver. So your attack lines are your arteries, your supply lines are your veins, and your engine is the pump. I'm sorry, your engine, the pump, is the heart. Veins actually contain one-way valves because the pressure in the vein is low, and this helps to keep the blood flowing towards the heart. With every contraction, blood will go up, and then as the contraction stops, it'll start to fall back a little bit, and it'll stop at that valve.